Think you know Diane Keaton? Think again. In these rare, never-before-seen photos, the shocking truth about the love triangle that nearly ended her career is revealed. Behind the glistening images is the shadow of a painful decision, calling off her engagement to Al Pacino on the eve of their wedding. Why did Diane Keaton reject the man the world admired? And who was the third person who made her make this unthinkable choice? The answers will shock you more than you think in this video. Before we dive deeper, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Grab yourself a warm drink, maybe a cup of tea, or just some water, and sit back as we begin this journey together. Diane Keaton was born in a quiet residential area of Highland Park, the eldest child in a middle-class family. Her mother, Dorothy, was an intelligent, artistic woman with a passion for the theatre. It was she who first planted the seeds of Diane's love of acting, not through formal lessons, but through the lively presence of art in the small house, where every evening a classical piece of music or an improvised line from a Broadway play could be heard. Diane has said that she was obsessed with the beauty of performance in the spotlight, something she saw on old film tapes and her mother in local beauty pageants. "I grew up watching my mother walk around in a ball gown wearing a sparkling tiara, smiling as if she belonged to another world, a world I wanted to enter at any cost," she recalls. While Diane was not an academically outstanding student at Santa Ana High School, she was an active member of the school's choir and drama group. With her slender figure, blonde hair, and distinctive husky voice, Diane seemed ready for a different life if only one door were opened. After graduation, she enrolled at California State University at Santa Ana, but soon felt stifled by the traditional educational environment. Diane wanted to study acting to immerse herself in the world of emotions and characters. The turning point came when she moved to New York, the city of dreams, to study at the neighborhood playhouse school of the theatre, which had trained legends like Gregory Peck and Steve McQueen. Here, Diane Keaton began to live the life of a true artist, eating cheap sandwiches, renting a tiny room in Greenwich Village, and listening to her inner calling. The first days in New York were harsh, but full of vitality. Diane Keaton first stepped onto the Broadway stage in the hit play Hair in the late 1960s. Little did she know that it would be the first brick to build an illustrious career that would last more than half a century. With her blonde hair, sparkling intelligent eyes, and somewhat different demeanour, Keaton was unlike the usual female stars of the time. And because of that, she made a difference. On the Broadway stage, Keaton was not the most prominent person, but she was the most unique. In Hair, she attracted attention not only with her impressive voice, but also with her genuine presence, as if the character on stage was a real person in real life. But it was backstage on Broadway that Keaton's life took a completely new turn, when she met Woody Allen, a young comedian and director who was looking for an actress with an independent, slightly quirky personality and a lot of charm. Allen cast Keaton in his play It Again, Sam, a romantic comedy that was quintessentially Allen, neurotic, smart, and New York. They quickly became a couple, both in work and in life. But what was special about this relationship was their artistic mutuality. Keaton became Allen's muse and creative catalyst, and Allen gave her a bigger, deeper stage to show her acting depth and sensitivity. Her success on stage paved the way for Keaton to enter the cinema, and then came a big opportunity, the role of Kay Adams, the gentle and patient wife of Michael Corleone, in Francis Ford Coppola's The Godfather, 1972. It wasn't a big role, but it was a pivotal one, and Keaton brought a softness, a subtlety, and a quiet pain to Kay. A faint light in the dark, violent world of the mafia, international audiences began to recognise Keaton, but her real fame came in 1977 with a role written almost specifically for her, Annie Hall. Annie Hall is more than just a romantic comedy. It is a milestone in American cinema, a revolution in storytelling, in the image of female characters, and even in fashion. Keaton transforms into Annie, a silly, natural, lovable, and completely unique cabaret singer. It is not a dramatic role, but it is strangely authentic. People do not see Keaton playing a role. People see her as she is Innocent, intelligent, straightforward, and a little eccentric in a lovely way. In fact, Diane Keaton is Annie Hall. From the way she speaks incoherently to the exclamations like Lada, and especially the strange style of dress that later became legendary baggy men's shirts, wide leg pants, vests, fedoras, and ties. These are not costumes thought up by designers, but Keaton herself brought from her own wardrobe onto the set. "I dress like that because I'm not comfortable dressing like other women," she once said. In an era when women on screen were often pigeonholed into sexy or innocent stereotypes, Diane Keaton was a breath of fresh air. Strong, awkward, thoughtful, and graceful. All wrapped up in a tall, lanky frame and oversized glasses. Her style quickly became a trend. A generation of young women in America began wearing baggy pants, ties, and hats like Keaton. Not to please men, but to express their individuality. For Annie Hall, Keaton not only won the Academy Award for Best Actress, but was also cemented as a cultural icon. It was a double triumph, artistic and personal. After her triumphant performance in Annie Hall, Diane Keaton embarked on a new chapter in her career. Keaton took a bold turn as Teresa in Looking for Mr. Goodbar 1977. It was a dark and haunting film about a schoolteacher who lives a virtuous life by day but wanders around at night seeking thrills in fleeting affairs. The role exposed the dark side of the modern woman's soul. Conflicted, lonely, yearning for freedom, but also vulnerable. Keaton portrayed Teresa not only with her eyes and dialogue, but also with her body. Every movement was laced with deep insecurity. The film was controversial, but praised, and Diane once again asserted that she was not limited by genre or model. The late 1970 and early 1980 saw Keaton embark on a career of intellectually intense work. In Manhattan 1979, she reunited with Woody Allen in a literary role as Mary Wilk, a smart, sharp, somewhat self-absorbed and analytical woman. This was a character who reflected the complexities of modern male-female relationships, something that only Diane Keaton with her subtle empathy and natural acting could make real. Another milestone for Keaton came when she played Louise Bryant in Red's 1981, an epic film directed by and starring Warren Beatty. This role brought her a third Oscar nomination, showing that her acting power extended beyond the realm of romantic female leads. Louise was a journalist, a lover, a revolutionary, complex and fierce. Keaton imbued this character with the breadth of an existential woman, both passionately in love and struggling not to lose herself in life. By the late 1980s, Keaton surprised audiences again when she turned to family comedy with Baby Boom 1987, playing a successful businesswoman who suddenly became a single mother. Humorous, charming, but no less touching, this role showed a mature Keaton, understanding life, understanding people, and still constantly creative. In Father of the Bride 1991, she continued to impress audiences with the role of a gentle, kind mother, a model completely opposite to the rebelliousness of the past, but still maintaining her caring demeanour. The film became a box office phenomenon and is loved to this day. Over the course of her decades-long career, Diane Keaton has had relationships with three of the most charismatic men in American cinema. With Woody Allen, their relationship began with laughter and intellectual chemistry. Diane was his muse, his co-star, and the true inspiration for his most iconic films, most notably Annie Hall, a film that seemed to tell the story of their love at once genuine, fragile, and tragic. Although the relationship ended, the two remained close friends and respected each other for the rest of their lives. Her second love was Warren Beatty, Hollywood's most charming and charismatic man, who captivated Keaton in a very different way. She once admitted that she was attracted to his intelligence and fierce ambition. They collaborated on the epic Reds, where Keaton played Louise Bryant, a woman who was not afraid to break all social limits to be true to herself. Perhaps that role is the most honest reflection of Keaton in love. intense but not binding. As for Al Pacino, their relationship lasted for many years, especially after co-starring in the Godfather series. Keaton once said that she wanted to marry Pacino, but he was never ready. When she asked the question, either marry or end it, he chose to walk away. Despite the pain, Keaton did not look back with regret, but with gratitude. She once said, "I loved him, but I loved him in a way that made me unable to be myself." But despite many romantic relationships, Diane Keaton has never married. In a culture where successful women are still questioned for not settling down, Keaton always stands her ground. "I am almost the only female celebrity of my generation who has never been married." She shared in an interview, "I am not sad for me. Being someone else's wife is not a good idea." At the age of 50, Diane Keaton decided to adopt 2 children, Dexter and Duke, and embarked on the journey of motherhood without a man by her side. "I think I have to love myself enough to be able to love these 2 children without anyone else's help," she said. Keaton raised her children with all her devotion, tenderness, and personality. She makes no secret of the fact that being a single mother was a challenging journey, but she believes it was the best choice of her life. For her, motherhood does not require a standard script, just a sincere heart and commitment. In addition to being a mother, Keaton is also a loyal friend of dogs. The photos of her with giant shaggy dogs, sometimes sitting on her lap, sometimes walking around the garden, are simple but loving everyday moments. Today, Diane Keaton lives in a Spanish colonial-style house in California, a house that she herself had the idea to renovate and decorate with an aesthetic that is both classic and modern. Every wall, every piece of furniture reflects her liberal artistic personality and her love of beauty. This is the space where she reads books, writes diaries, raises dogs, and enjoys peaceful afternoons after a hectic life. Keaton still participates in film projects, sometimes in light comedy roles, sometimes in the roles of mothers and grandmothers, but always with a characteristic spirit. No sadness, no embellishment, just living truthfully. Diane Keaton's legacy is not only in an Oscar statuette or dozens of memorable roles. Her legacy is a way of life, courageous, kind, and never forcing herself into a stereotype. In fashion, she created an icon with her suits, fedoras, and menswear style, something that generations of women still follow as a declaration of freedom. In love, she proves that there is nothing wrong with choosing to live alone. And in art, she is a living example of an actress who listens to herself rather than pleasing the audience. Thank you for watching the video to the end. If you find this content valuable, please click the like button to let me know that you are with me. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss other cinematic stories where each character, each scene has untold depths.